Welcome back to another video on an environmental science SBA. Basically today I will present to you an environmental science SBA sample that can help you complete your internal assessment. Alright, so before I go in directly to the sample from the syllabus, I'm going to show you some criteria for the SBAs, and that will be found on page 50. So I'll go through that very quickly. All right, so here from the syllabus, page 50, what I want to show you is that the SBA comprises of three main parts. All right, so there are three main components that you will focus on in this SBA. You'll have 4 site visits, 4 laboratory exercises, all right, and of course, the final report. In the final report, you're expected to draft a problem statement. So one of the components of the journal is a problem statement. Now, I advise that you first define your problem statement and then you plan your site visits and your laboratory exercises to address either how you solving a problem or comparing and contrasting various elements. All right. So those are the three main components, and each component has a format of its own. I'm going to briefly show you those formats, but before that, there is some important information here. All right, so let me just read through this one here. It says site visits should be based on visits to one site where changes over a period of time are observed, or on a series of visits to different sites to compare and contrast similar processes or occurrences. All right, so it don't mean that you have to just go to one site alone. It all depends on what do you prefer according to your problem statement. Then once you define your problem statement, then it will tell you which of the two um, approach to take. All right, so as it says here in the second guide, it said laboratory exercises should relate to each other or any other series of site visits. So as I said, to do your journal, you'd have to refer back to the site visits and the laboratory exercise. So all 8 pieces of work should at least be geared towards the problem statement that you have created. All right. So as I said, now the site visit has a format that you should follow. So that's one format there for the site visits. The laboratory exercise, this is the general format. But for doing your laboratory exercises, there are 2 parts that you will mainly do. You'll do a planning and designing aspect. So basically, you plan and design the lab first, and then the other part you'll actually carry out what you have designed and planned. So there are 2 formats that you're going to use. You're going to use a plan and design format, and then this format here for carrying out the actual lab. So the plan and design format is different from this one. So when I'm showing you the sample, you will see the format for the plan and design aspect. But on the record sheet, which your teacher will download from the CXC website, you'll see just this format here. So the teacher would have to fill in the necessary information here. All right, so this is the format for the laboratory report. So as I was saying, in the laboratory report, you should have a problem statement. So clarity, so number 1 here says clarity of the statement of the real world problem being studied. Project description. All right, 2 marks. So in your problem statement, as I said, it's important that you form the problem statement first, then you do your services and laboratory exercises on to address that. All right, so let's get into the presentation of the actual lab sample. All right, so this is the actual sample. So the first page, this is the cover page here. Of course, here you'd have these headings: the candidate name, your number, your school center number, the year of examination, of course, your teacher. And what I would propose as well is that you put the problem statement here. So remember, this problem statement is coming from the journal, but all your site visits now and all your um, laboratory exercise should link to this problem statement. So let me just go through it quickly so you can help to guide you comfortable through the SBA. It says the problem statement is how man's activity affect the natural environment. It has been observed by our members that the natural environment is affected by water pollution, soil erosion, climate change, and rising temperature. Thus, in order to identify some ways these impacts are derived and how they can be limited, a number of relevant laboratory activities and site visits will be conducted. All right, so one important point when doing your problem statement is that you should identify a problem within the world or in your country or in the Caribbean, etc. And then you would suggest how you're going to go about solving that issue or finding out some information on that issue. All right, so how you're going to go about to address the issue should come after. So you, in your problem statement, you outline a problem and then you move towards addressing the problem. Of course, it's very required that you have a table of contents. We're going to start off with the laboratory entries. All right, so for the lab entry to point out, when you're numbering your labs, you should say lab entry number one, lab entry number two, etc. Just don't say lab one or number one. Say lab entry number one. And of course, this is the PD aspect. PD here mean planning and designing aspect. So this part of the SBA should be written in future tense. All right, future tense because you're planning what you will do. So this date here is just when you did the planning. All right, so this is the plan and design aspect, and this one will be done on feeding relationships. So this is the format that you would use: lab entry number, date, title, problem statement, hypothesis, a material, methods. Now, in doing this planning and designing, your teacher should guide you, or if you have other personnels that can help, fine. Then you will have the method and the expected results. Now, a key importance is that the expected results, if you're going to use like a table, if you're going to gather information in a table, then you should put a sample of the table here, and you will see that come up in the others. All right, so as I said, the method should be written in future tense. All right. All right, so that was the PD part of the lab. Now this is the actual laboratory report. This part should be written in past tense, and this now is the format. So of course you will add your results. When you're doing a food chain and food web, please remember to put in the arrows. If that is not done, it's not properly done, and you will lose mark. Of course, you will go about and make real carry real experiments, take pictures of your environment, and even add pictures of yourself doing the labs and the site visits. Of course, from the lab, you will have a discussion. What you will discuss is the findings, your results. So normally your discussions will be based on your findings. So you will compare your findings, all right? You will match that up with the problem. And of course, if you do literature review, if you should research and find out what other person says or other sources, maybe from the net or from a book, what they say about food chain and food web in the ecosystem, and you compare your findings with that literature review and so forth. That would be also a part of the discussion. So you outline what you observe, you discuss them, give your opinion on them, and then of course you compare your information that you find from other sources. That's how you would properly do a discussion. And then the final part of the lab exercise is the conclusion. All right, so you will need to do 4 of these. So that's number 2. Start with the planning and designing aspect. Should be done in future tense. Right. Now, as I was saying, in the planning and designing, in this aspect, for the actual lab, they will have to document their information in a table. So you should put a sample of the table that they will document their information. All right. So that part would go underneath the expected result. So you put a sample of the table that they'll use to document the actual information. And remember that this is the PD. All right, so this is the actual laboratory report and it should be done in past tense. So the method here should be written in past tense. All right. Now, the table that was constructed in the plan and designing part of the lab, see, we use but the same table now in the actual lab. Of course, you put in your pictures to show evidence that you actually did the SBA. You can put your faces in it. I put your face, when you're taking your pictures, ensure your face are shown. Then, of course, you have your discussion. And then the conclusion. Then the third lab, again, you do the PD. Of course, if you're expected to document information in the actual lab, then you put a sample of the table that they will document the information in. So each student, you should also put this sample of the table in your expected result of the PD. And of course, if you're going to use formulas, you put the formulas in the PD as well. Now this is the actual lab. So the table now, this table now is filled out according to the experiment, the laboratory exercise that was done. And then of course, the calculations. And of course, you put in your pictures to show evidence. Then your discussion and conclusion. Lab entry number 4, the planning and designing. All right, you put in your necessary pictures to show evidence. And as I said, with the discussion, you will discuss your findings and then you compare your findings with other literature review, and that will complete your discussion. So whatever you read from your textbooks or the Google sites, then you can add that information. But you do your sightings later on. Now the site visits. Alright, site visit entry number one. So here you should put entry one. Site visit entry one. So entry is missing off here. Entry number one. Alright, your site visits, the activities should be done in past tense. The objectives in future tense. Your pictures. And of course, your pictures should be labeled. After you have your comments. So of course, you make your comments from the observations, and of course, you can also compare them to literature review. Of course, you just state your next follow-up activity, and they should all relate to the same problem statement. All right, site visit entry 2. As I pointed out, you can compare your findings with literature review and make your necessary quoting, make your quotings appropriately. All right, so with this site visit, as you can see, there were a lot of information that was presented. This fishing sanctuary was established because the marine system, the fishes, the species were dying off because of overfishing. So this Arakabesa Fish Sanctuary has restored the number of fishes in that environment. And there are a lot of law and regulation governing that sanctuary. So all that information will be placed in the comments. All right, so the hydroponic system and the aquaponic system at the College of Agriculture, it will prevent eutrophication. No nutrients will be escaped from this system, and it reduces eutrophication. And of course, the final aspect of the SBA is the journal report. So in the journal report, you have these same, you will have discussion on these four site visits and four laboratory exercises, but there's a format that we'll follow. Let's proceed. So of course, that's the problem statement there. So all the four labs and site visits should relate to this problem statement. Of course, the next one is the purpose of the project. Because as I said in the problem statement, a problem was outlined. So the purpose now is what are the benefits of carrying out your experiments and site visits and a whole why you do this type of SBA or topic. Method of data collection. Of course, you outline the site visits, the laboratory exercises, observation, engagement in discussion, presentation, taking of pictures, been to lectures, been to demonstrations, etc. Now, the literature review, these are the information that you gather now from the internet or from other sources that is speaking about your topic. So from textbooks, from the Google websites, all right, and of course, here you will make your quotings and you would use the appropriate format. So, for example, you'd said, according to Collin's dictionary, anthropogenic activities refers to the activity of humans, especially those that contribute to the pollution, etc., etc. So you appropriately mention where you get the information. All right. And then, of course, for each literature review that you do, you have to make sightings of that where you get the information in the bibliography. All right. So you do a number of sightings if you use those information in the SBA. All right, presentation of data, you use but the same information from the labs and the same information from the site visits. All right, however, you can also present them in different formats, maybe in graphs. So those that can be presented in table and graph, the same information can present in different ways. So these food chains and food webs are brought back. Of course, for each presentation, you make a little notation of what the relevance of the what is the outcome of the pictures or the data that you have presenting. All right, so for example, now this information is in a table. You could also present the same information in a graph. So you do the same information and present it in different forms so that you can do different analysis at the end of the day. All right, so you can put the information in a pie chart. So in this case, the information was placed, the same information in a pie chart. It could also be done in a graph. And of course, you make the necessary relevant notation of what the graph is about as it relates to your problem statement or findings. Then the next step would be the analysis of the data. And of course, you gather this information from the presentations of the data and also the notes that you jotted down. Now, the discussion, again, as I said, you will speak about the information that you gather, your observations that were made, your results. You discuss them, you talk about them, you compare them, and also you compare them to the literature review. So you can make quotings from your literature here as well. Then, of course, you have the conclusion. Now, this aspect is what you speak about the problem statement. Where did you answer a question that you wanted to find out? Are there other things you learned that is important? You can add them there. Did it work out? What you find out match up with what literature review had? All of that information you put there and you make it short as possible. You have your recommendations. And last but not least, your bibliography. So as I said now, all the information that you had in the literature review that you quote, you should have your sightings of those literature review. All right, so this is the end of this presentation. I want you to please like and share the video. Share with your friends, um, your teachers, your fellow students. All right, and I will be happy to present more videos like this. Thank you.